US returned Techie, desperate to raise funds for a new venture, has been arrested on charges of murdering his parents at their villa in Vignan Nagar, near Hall Township in East Bengaluru. 60-year-old Naveen Bhat, a retired Navy captain, and his dentist wife, Shyamala Bhat, who was 55 years of age, were residing in Adarsh Vista. The accused is their son, Rohan Bhat, at aged 33. Based on early investigations, police said he repeatedly stabbed his parents around 8 a.m. following heated arguments with them. Hearing the commotion, neighbors rushed to the villa and shifted the seriously injured couple to the hospital, following which doctors declared them brought dead. Dr. Madhavi Nair, a neighbor and a doctor working with Manipal hospitals, filed a complaint with the police. My colleague, Belly Thomas, has spoken to Bengaluru DCP, Sedula Ayadat, on the murders of retired Navy Captain Naveen Bhat and his dentist wife, Shyamala Bhat, by their son, Rohan Bhat. Let's listen in.
The Deputy Commissioner of Police, Whitefield Division, Saidullu Adayat, sir, with me here. Sir, it's indeed a shocking murder that had happened in Vignan Nagar, in HL police station limits. Retired Navy captain and his dentist wife has been murdered by their son. So, what does the investigation reveal, sir?
Sure. Good morning. Yesterday, early morning 6:30, we got a call that some stabbing happened on the aged parent from that community. In Vignanagar, there is a villa community. From that, some neighbor has called. Police rushed to the spot. By the time, the neighbors, some doctors has taken them, both of the parents, to the nearest hospital, and they were badly injured and lot of, at many places, stab injuries was also there. And by the time they reached the hospital, both of the parents were no more, unfortunately, and immediately police rushed to the spot and has done all the procedures, and we have apprehended this person also, that's their son, who stabbed them, and after that we have taken complaint and registered as a murder case, and we have apprehended him, and today we are producing for the judicial remand. And reason behind this issue is this person, son, is working as a software engineer some time back, and he left his job and he wanted to start his own startup kind of thing, and there is a discussion between the parents and this person regarding the financing of the project. So it seems there is conflict over the that's financing the project. So they had the fight before night and early morning, and that fight led to the stabbing. Okay. Yeah, that's what we understood so far, and investigation is going on.
Okay. Sir, we are told that this son, was he staying with his parents, or and why did he kill both of them? Like, if it was an incident in a fit of rage, he would have killed the father and injured the mother, but he had killed both of them, stabbed to death both of them. So
he's staying, as you said, he's staying separately. He's not staying with them. Almost from the last 2 years he's staying separately, and after coming back from USA, he did masters in USA, it seems. So he's staying separately, and frequently he visits the parents. So yesterday, before night, 10th night, he came there, and the night also, it seems the discussion happened, and early morning also the argument started. So it seems both the parents, it seems he might have, without any intentions, a fight might have started, and he started stabbing irrespective of the person who is arguing with him. It seems that's like three of them sitting together and having an argument like that. Okay. That's a seeing scenario says it, okay. Prima facie, yes.
Now, what is the progress of the investigation? So will the daughter come from the US, and only then the postmortem would happen?
Yes. So far, actually, we have shifted body to the boarding hospitals, and the storage, the mortuary storage is there, and daughter she is staying in the USA. She is also working there after her masters. She has to come back, so she's on the way. Once she reaches, we'll do that investigation procedures, inquest, and other postmortem things will happen accordingly, and we'll hand out the body.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us. So that was Deputy Commissioner of Police, Whitefield Division, Saidullu Adayat, on the double murder that happened in HL police station limits. With camera person Pawan Kumar, this is Belly Thomas for NewsX, Bengaluru.
And it's now time, viewers, to welcome all my guests who are joining us for this very interesting discussion ahead, because this is a very shocking case. I have with me Mr. Bhaskar Rao, he's a former police commissioner of Bengaluru. I have Dr. Bhavna Barmi, who's a clinical psychologist. And I also have Dr. Kapil Kakkar, who's also a psychologist. I want to begin by Mr. Bhaskar Rao. Mr. Bhaskar Rao, now my question to you is that this is of course a very shocking case, details of which we've shared with our viewers. But I want to talk to you specifically about witness testimony in domestic homicide cases. And of course, neighbors and a doctor reportedly rushed the victims to the hospital. How important is witness testimony in domestic homicide cases like this?
See, in this case, witness testimony is not forthcoming because in the close presence of the house, there has been no eyewitness or what we call as a Chashmadid Gawah. Nobody was there. No eyewitnesses. So it is only circumstantial evidence. The blood stains, weapon, and the sustained interrogation of the perpetrator or the alleged accused is what is going to bring the truth out. And what we are seeing now is not new. It has happened in the past. And it used to be very common in rural areas of North Karnataka, especially around Belgaum, where ghastly murders were committed of what we used to call as a fratricide or matricide. Fratricide is killing the father and matricide is killing the mother. And this normally the defense that they take is that there is sudden and grave provocation. But what we do is we correct the crime and the criminal only by circumstantial evidence. They may plead a lot of things in the court of law, and often courts have taken a lenient view on this, saying that the person has not had a criminal past and he was mentally disturbed, and they start blaming the upbringing, etc., etc. But for us, conviction, for us, filing the charge sheet is important. And the Deputy Commissioner of Police, Saidul Adawat, with whom you just spoke or heard, would have gathered all the evidence and would have, he will probably file the charge sheet after circumstantial evidence is seen through. Because not possible to get eyewitness over here.
All right, I'll come back to both my other guests. And now the accused Rohan Bhat, viewers, at the age of 33, has remained silent in police custody. He said to the cops that there was a quarrel which ended in the murders. Cops are investigating into the double murder case. And if the son Rohan had planned the crime and executed it, and when, who was killed first really? These are the things that are being discussed. I have Belly Thomas joining me with more details. Belly, what more can you tell us?
Vaishali, the accused, Rohan Bhat, was arrested from the house soon after the neighbors had taken the victims to the hospital where they were declared brought dead. And since then, Rohan in police custody has been remaining silent. He's not, he looked confused is what the police says. He's not, coherent enough to give a submission as of now. But again, stating so, he's maintaining that he had an argument with his parents, and that had led to this incident is what he's maintaining as of now. The police is kind of giving him some cooling time for him to open up with his own thought. And this is what is happening now. Since 24 hours has passed, is going to get passed in police custody. He has been produced before a court where his custody would be sought, is what police sources tell us as of now.
All right. Now, in the latest coming in the Bengaluru double murder case, the bodies have been shifted to Boring Hospital mortuary. A post-mortem examination will be conducted after the couple's daughter, who is currently traveling from the US, reaches Bengaluru, the police said. Now, further details are awaited as the investigation is in process. And now I want to go across, viewers, this discussion takes an interesting angle because I want to tell you that, there have been multiple documentaries that have been made on various OTT platforms which have also spoken about real-life cases of a child that ends up killing his or her own parents. And this is the kind of psychology that I want to delve into from a psychological perspective, really. I want to come now to the psychologists that are joining me. I want to go across first to Dr. Bhavna Barmi. And Dr. Bhavna Barmi, I want to ask you that, psychologically, what are the factors that could push a child to turning so violent against his own parents?
This kind of a shocking incident is not normal at all. In fact, it is extremely unfortunate because no person is going to kill their parents solely over denied startup funding in a rational state. So such extreme violence, which Sir was also talking about here, what we call as parricide, since both the parents were killed, typically emerges from a toxic mix of deep-seated psychological vulnerabilities. It could be unmet needs and acute emotional dysregulation. It could be a lot of what we call as influence of upbringing and societal pressures. It could also be the startup culture, which is very, very toxic in times of today. In this case, reports have also indicated that the accused had some mental health concerns, like anxiety issues, which we could delve in further, could also be some kind of a depressive issue. Amid his funding struggles, the family pressure, and of course the perceived failure in the high-stake startup world. So if you're asking me about the key psychological factors, some factors that can lead up to this could be probably a sense of intense entitlement and narcissistic injury. These kind of people may view parental support as an entitlement, and rejection feels like profound humiliation or abandonment, triggering rage disproportionate to the trigger or to the argument or even the fight that they were having. It could also be due to a psychological poor frustration, tolerance, and emotional dysregulation that the person was going through. Chronic stress, example, startup failure anxiety, builds up until a minor argument becomes the final straw, leading to impulsive, explosive violence. We've also heard in the report that the parents were in a discordant relationship, and thereby probably the parents, who were also well educated, were obsessed with the success in a professional domain for their son. The son could not perform to that level. He kept asking for more as a part of his entitlement, and the discord, the arguments and the disagreements may have kept moving on. This stems from something which we call as unresolved psychological dependency and attachment issues, which is something like a over-reliance unconditionally on parents, whether financially or emotionally, without healthy independence. And this can breed resentment again when needs are not met. And I would also like to say, there could be some psychiatric considerations, hypothetically based upon the reported details, but full diagnosis is required post a clinical evaluation. But suppose the diagnosis of anxiety issues persists, then of course there are cognitive distortions that come. One which we call as black and white thinking. If my parents don't help me, they are against me. If my parents are not funding me, they are destroying my future. This fuels dehumanization of parents in the moment. And thereby it is very, very important to assess a full diagnosis of a clinical concern that was arising. Was it just a generalized anxiety disorder, which we call as GAD, or coupled with an adjustment disorder with anxiety features? There could be possible underlying personality traits and disorders. It could be an acute stress reaction or a brief psychotic-like feature reaction also during the act, which we call as dissociative rage. But here I would say it's unlikely to be a primary psychotic disorder. So I think a complete evaluation is an absolute must to find out what is the core psychological complexity of such a morbid, toxic, unfortunate incident that has taken place.
All right. Now, Dr. Kapil Kakkar, I want to bring you in and I want to ask you a specific question. Now, this is absolutely shocking for a regular person to understand, to fathom how a person can end up killing his own parents. But my question to you, Dr. Kapil Kakkar, is that, there's a lot of aggression in this generation. There is a lot of lack of patience when we see the kind of road rage incidents that happen. I want to ask you that can these personality traits be spotted in perhaps a younger person, in a child early on, so that these things could be taken care of at a later stage? Or is this something that happened spur of the moment or develops much later in life?
No, I don't think such things happen at the spur of the moment. For me, this would have been weighing on him for some period of time to the travesty that we see here. Because as I have understood and what your team has shared with me, that after coming from US, he was into a startup and he was perhaps not doing well. So there was a lot of aspirational things. And somewhere for me, he was not able to cope up with the mechanism around him, and that is why he needed more funds. And as far as his parents were concerned, they would have realized it that the more funds if would have been given to him, they also would have been kind of not there anymore. So what to my mind is that is where the tussle was going on for quite some time. And when a person, because I see the word, because I think there was anxiety issue also. So when the person became so anxious, when the person becomes so anxious, at times they would start looking for things or the alternative measures that they can take, and they go into a world of delusion. Now, they would not end up thinking about the ramifications, or in case if they are thinking about the ramifications, for them, the world should end both ways. So what he's done here is that he killed his parents, and at the same time, if he knew what he had done, perhaps he wanted to kind of end his own life this way. Now the question is, like you said, what are the traits, etc. Now, when you talk about the younger generation, when we come to Gen Z, the patience level is quite down and they are more impulsive, but at the same time, see, we are living in a world of instant coffee. So, what I mean is that whatever our aspirations are, we want to get them ASAP. Now, when things are not happen, is when how we look at them emotionally, that whether am I able to cope up with it or not. Now, primarily, not many people are able to cope up if their friend circle is not big, or if their social skills have not been developed. And I think in this case, perhaps this person unfortunately might be working in a silo. He may not have a very good relationship with his other family members, or maybe the friends also. He would have had limited friends, because nowhere he would have got any guidance of not doing what he did. And I think he would have recused himself over a period of time. And like I also see, there was a lot of altercation between him and his parents, because his parents were also moving towards a retirement age. So when parents are moving towards a retirement age, they also want their own security. But when the aspirations of a child takes over and they get so self-consumed, they are not looking at what is it for the parents at the end of the day, and what is for them, and where and why and where they are failing. That is where at times the narcissistic mindset takes over. So for me, there can be a lot of emotional issues, a lot of traumas in his life at one point of time. However, this is not something which has suddenly happened. For me, this would have played out over a 3, 4, 5 months time. He would have used various kind of tools, mechanisms to convince his parents. And when he saw that nothing was happening and both his parents were on one side, the feeling of useless is perhaps would have taken over him, and that is what I think he thought, that this is the best way out for him, unfortunately.
All right, and with that, I'd like to thank all my guests for joining me.